Good evening. Welcome to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting on Monday, March 11th at 6:30 p.m. The City of Gladstone is abiding by guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires the governing body of the public body to extend reasonably possible to make all meetings accessibly remote through technological means and provide opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony during the meetings to extent in person, oral, and written testimony is allowed. Therefore, this meeting will be open to the public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. First, we're going to do roll call. Kristen's going to do that for us.
Justice Mills,
Justice Mills here.
Kim Agramson,
Here.
Chair Nancy Turner,
Present.
Bruce Hildreth,
Present.
Eric Butler,
Present.
and Vice Chair Kate Cornelius here.
Our next item of on the agenda is approval of the February 12th minutes. Does anyone have any concerns about those? Anything corrections that we need to make? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Bruce Hildreth.
A second.
Second that.
Justice Mills,
Yes, I approve.
Kim Agramson,
Approved.
Nancy Turner,
I approve.
Bruce Hildreth,
I approve.
Eric Butler,
Approve.
Kate Cornelius. Yes.
Next on our agenda is business from the staff. So Darren, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So first is the update on the Ridgegate / David M. Scott Park. There was a lady that spoke at our last meeting on the 12th of February that had some concerns with the park. I met her on site at that park. Basically discussed what we've all discussed, which is adding a sign, which is probably the most important piece, and then also adding some benches there as well. She had a couple other concerns that were code compliance related that I told her to contact code compliance for those issues. It wasn't a very long meeting. Just kind of touching base, telling her where we're at, what the plan is. I told her that it was on our goals for the biennium budget or by the biennium goals. And I told her something should be coming there soon. We don't have a date, obviously, but that's kind of where we're at with that. I just wanted to kind of give an update just to let you know that I did speak with her and went over that stuff with her. So.
And that will include a garbage can and a dog waste?
Yes, also a garbage can and a dog waste station there as well.
Great.
And Darren, that I'm looking back on the notes. That was Janet Simmons.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Next is an update on Robin Hood Park. I just wanted to touch base on that because when I met with Nancy and Kate, they kept saying, well, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? So for everyone that was at the grand opening of the Robin Hood Park playground, if you noticed when you walked, or excuse me, the Meldrum Bar Park playground, when you walked on those play chips, it was really soft. And the whole idea is to put those chips so that when people fall off the equipment, they don't get injured. So we need to do the same thing at Robin Hood Park, but in order to do that, we've got to dig out the area for the swing set. So we need to dig out 12 inches deep to be able to do that. With the weather, it makes it hard to do that because everything gets muddy and they've got to run the equipment in through the main gate into that park to be able to dig that stuff out. So it's not like we're holding anything up. It's just the weather right now. So hopefully with the good weather that's coming next week or supposedly coming at the end of this week, first part of next week, hopefully they'll be able to get out there and start digging that out and get that swing set installed there. So it just waiting on weather. That's kind of where we're at with that one. Next is an update on the Meldrum Bar Meldrum Bar Park Playground, as you know, it is now open. We had the ribbon cutting 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. It was a good success for the people that were there. It was, a lot of people actually showed up. The kids are playing on it constantly. I was down there last week with City Administrator Betts, and the place was packed. Lots of kids, lots of action going on there. So that was a good thing to get that installed down there. Next is update on this RC car track. So I know that Jackie had sent out an email about the meeting that her and I had with a gentleman with the RC car track people. It was only one individual. He listened, he understood where we were coming with our concerns. We talked about the erosion down there. We talked about the muddy water coming across the track. We talked about the gas-powered vehicles down there. Very receptive to the fact that we were there and willing to meet with him. Kind of next steps with that, Jackie and I went down and took a look at that last Wednesday. I've got a game plan put together to help with erosion control and the water getting across the pathway. One of the issues with that pathway, there is an actual dip in the pathway that just happens to be by where the RC car track is. That's not anything that they have done. It's a dip in the pathway. So we'll look at a way to maybe get that water to shed off the pathway. The other thing that I'm going to look to do is getting some silt fence put up around the fence that's currently there. That'll help keep debris and stuff like that within that area, and then also help with water going across the pathway, keep it from being all muddy and stuff like that. On the other side of the pathway, on the river side, what I think I want to do there is dig that out a little bit and then put in some like 1-inch rock or maybe some 2-inch rock to help filter anything that comes across there. And not only that, it'll help keep any mud and muck that is already there. It'll get rid of all that. And if we do that with erosion control, should help keep that area a much cleaner area for everybody. And then kind of the third piece with that was meeting with the RC car track people again. I want to keep in constant contact with them. I'd like to see a meeting with them at least every 2 months, if not every quarter. I'm going to set up a meeting with the gentleman that we met with here probably next week is what I'd like to do. Meet him on site down there and talk to him about what we're going to do and then how they're going to help maintain that. We're going to need their help to maintain it once we install it. And that's where they come into this, is to help them. By us doing this should fix our issues, but it will also, if we can keep them to maintain it, we shouldn't have the issues going forward. So that's where we're at with that. Next is discussion on the dog park. So I know it was last year we were hoping to have the Seventh-day Adventist install a dog park per the site plan for Meldrum Bar Park. That didn't come to fruition. We are now looking at, and actually Marcy is looking at a grant through T-Mobile to get $50,000 to help build that dog park up there. It's not going to be the entire park. We'd phase it in. First part would be to get the fenced in area and get an area for the dogs to run and be fenced in so they're not running all over. Second phase of that would be to do, in the site plan, there's a small parking lot that goes there, and some other things that we're not going to do with phase one. So phase one would be get the fenced area. We'd get some benches up there, obviously doggy waste receptacles and all that stuff put up there for that. Phase two would be to do the ADA parking and everything else that's associated with that on that. That too is gonna have to be done with grant, but if we can get the main portion built with this grant and we can worry about the other with another grant is the thought with that. And then the last thing I had is meeting time. So we meet at 6:30 the first Monday, second Monday of the month. I was putting it out there to see if anybody would be interested in possibly changing this meeting time to earlier than 6:30. I'm open to whatever. it'd be nice if we could do it earlier instead of at 6:30. I know that it could be difficult for some people. But I just thought I'd throw it out there and see what your guys' thoughts are on changing the meeting time.
What would work for you?
Well, what would work for me won't work for you, so that I do know. I mean, in a perfect world, 3:30, but that isn't gonna work. But I was thinking if we could move to like a 5:30 start instead of a 6:30 start would be great. But if that doesn't work for everybody, I could go 6 o'clock. I could go earlier too. It's just a matter of what would work best for the board itself.
How are your thoughts about Monday? Do you still like Monday?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
Monday.
5:30 on Monday. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say that 5:30 on would actually remove a long-standing conflict for me. So 5:30 would be great, but again, it's whatever works for everyone else.
Yeah, I'm good 5:30 because I'll just eat earlier or eat later, one of the two.
Justice?
5:30 sounds good to me. I'm retired.
Lucky.
Okay. Okay, so we would need to do a motion for that?
Oh.
Okay, I would entertain a motion from someone.
I move to have our meetings at 5:30 on Mondays, changing from 6:30.
A second?
I second that motion.
Kristen?
Okay, let's see, we'll go backwards. Kate Cornelius,
Yes.
Bruce Hildreth,
Yes.
Eric Butler,
Yes.
Nancy Turner,
Yes.
Kim Abramson,
Yes.
and Justice Millis.
Yes.
Will that need to be cleared through council or okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you. And Eric, we were worried about you on that. So if that works for you, that's even better. Okay, are there any more that you want to share that's come up? Okay, is there anything from the board on questions to Darren?
Darren, I've got a question on the RC park thing. You met with a gentleman, and I probably, it doesn't matter if we know his name or not, but I don't know if maybe that should be for the record. But beyond that, is that individual resident of Gladstone?
He is not a resident of Gladstone.
Okay, all right. Was there any talk about that park maybe being moved?
We didn't talk about that, but it is moved in the site plan. It is not going to be in the spot that it's currently
Okay.
located.
So it was really focused on just keeping that area clear.
For right now, yes,
Leave
that
that.
is correct, is
Okay.
to get into compliance.
Okay,
Is the main factor right now. What happens from there, we'll have to see.
okay, yeah. I was down there. The pictures that you guys had of cleaning it up, the actual pathway looked really good.
Mhm.
I was down there. It happened to be raining pretty hard. There is about an 8-foot stretch there, like you said, that dips, and then it's about 3 inches of water.
Right,
So if you got tennis shoes on, you're in trouble.
right.
I happen to have bog boots on, so it wasn't so bad. But a guy came up. There was a couple of people there, a gentleman with his young kids they were playing, but a guy came up, grabs a push broom, and because that stuff is hard as concrete, and then there's puddle areas, he was pushing the water up over the berm into a trough. The trough ran alongside the pathway, and right at the end just goes, that was a sound effect, sorry. It spread mud, water, and then right on down over the rocks to the river.
Right.
And And I watched another guy come walking just after me because I walked down that path. And on that riverside, if you go to remove that, I think that's the only area you can walk through. It's raised dirt there. You know, in other words, it's a path next to the path.
Right, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, it seems to me like if you're doing that, you're gonna have to have, I don't know what you do. You put the gravel in like you talked about, but like a French drain or something that pulls that water away.
Well, like I said, the idea would be is to get the water to not stay on the pathway, to get it to flow
Or
out.
like a drain.
So the trail is actually gonna have to probably be lifted a little bit in that area to bring it out so that we don't end up with the puddling. And the thought would be to put, gravel or rock on both sides of the pathway.
Right.
So that if the water sheds off on either side, it'll have a place to go and not stay on the pathway. Them sweeping of the track is an issue. We're aware of that issue and we talked about that issue.
Yeah.
So we've still got some work to do there, but I think at least as of right now, they're very receptive to what we have to say and are set from the sounds of it, willing to do just about anything that we ask them to. So.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Darren, I had one question about the dog park.
Uh-huh.
I've never really looked at the general idea of how big it was gonna be or anything like that, but is it gonna be one dog park like for general population of dogs, or is it gonna be the plan gonna be a larger park with maybe a smaller park within that for smaller and medium-sized dogs?
Yeah, the plan would be to do we'd have a fenced in area within the main dog park for the smaller dogs, so the smaller dogs wouldn't be, unless somebody wanted them to, out with the bigger dogs. So it kind of, I envision something, you have two entrances as you walk in. One would be for the larger dogs, one would be for the smaller dogs.
Any other questions? Oh,
Yeah, going back to the RC track, we will have to be careful that whatever drainage solution we implement is not discharging directly into the river. So
Yes.
also, I'd like to see Marisa's sound effect somehow included in the minutes.
Kristen's a whiz. I'm sure she could figure it out. All right, yeah, how do you spell that? Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Eric, for your comment. Yeah, I think, my concern is that you talk to one person. I'm not sure how that information is being disseminated against the other people that are down there also.
Right, and the plan with that is what I told the gentleman that we met with, that we would be, when I meet with him on site, I would love to have multiple people there, and I would like to keep growing that group together in these meetings instead of it just being a 1 or 2 person deal. The more people, I think, the better, so that they're hearing it from the city, not from other members of the board or their group. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm hoping that the next time we do meet, that there are several people there, so that they can, hear it from the city.
Yeah, I'm sure trust is an issue. So
Yeah, it is.
on both sides.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? For Darren? I'm sure he'd answer if we have more. So, all right, business from the board. I just wanted to check in with everybody about the binders. Did they find them helpful? Was there something that you wanted more in there? Anybody have some thought on that? Or did it help? And you're all good? Okay, great. We'll move on from that. Okay. I asked you to do like 2 things at the end of the meeting. One of them was to use our binder, go through, look at some of the smaller projects, because it seems like our bigger projects are underway. We just need to wait for them to get started and stuff. So with Kristen's help, good job. Here we go. So I would like people to volunteer and kind of list out what they thought those small projects might be. And Kristen's going to keep track of them for us. So as we go through, I'm sure there'll be some repetition. So that's fine. And I would still like you to just say that you support that project so we kind of know how many people. But yeah, I'm interested to see what everyone found and feels important to them. So do I have a taker to start?
Yeah, I will,
Okay.
just with one that we've talked about and is probably not super small, but again, all money being somewhat relative, it's all gonna be expensive, but just to bring up Nick Shannon again, because I think that that park is really cute and is, I mean, I don't live super close to there, but I can walk there with my dogs and it's just kind of sad looking. It's tired looking. So that would be one that I would advocate for, especially the play structure. And then as we have talked about, and it's kind of already on the list, some of the ADA access to get out to picnic tables, benches, the amenities that are in there.
Following up on Nick Shannon, I do live close to there and was out there and a couple of things. There's a aluminum table it's extended on one end. And I assume that's for a wheelchair person. And the only thought I had there was that the concrete pad does not extend to the point where a wheelchair person could be on the level with it. I mean, the back wheels might be in the soft ground and then the front wheels would be maybe a little bit up. It looks like you've been thinking about that, or somebody has.
Yeah, so that would be part of the ADA portion of the metro money that we're talking about, to be able to get not only once you're there, but to actually get there without having to go through grass and flower beds or whatever it takes to get there. So
Right.
that's kind of part of that. I think with Nick Shannon, it'll kind of have to be phased in because we have to wait for the metro funds to be able to do the ADA stuff there, but
Mhm.
that is one of the items that we will
Great,
be doing.
Great. And then also the sign that the Nick Shannon Memorial sign is very homey and folksy, and I don't know the history of that. I'm just thinking that it needed a paint job at a minimum, maybe a fresh coat of paint, or maybe even a new sign. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to upset anybody if the makers of that sign were, involved with, Nick Shannon or something.
Right.
Just a thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to add in on to Nick Shannon, if I may, because I'm with Kate. It's a little tired. But I can also give some history. Nick Shannon Park was named after a young man that went to school here, and he died from a asthma attack, severe asthma attack. He'd be about 40-ish these days. I believe his mom came to the city and requested that, and it was granted, whatever hoops she had to go through. So I think once it's named, you don't unname it unless there's something that triggers it, but I would agree that painting it would be nice. And the play structure, here's the history I'm going to give it there, is I know this committee has talked about that going back. I mean, it was prior to when you were here, Darren. There's parts of that playground that have been deemed not good, as in maybe it shouldn't even be there. My favorite being the merry-go-round. I enjoy that, but kind of hate to see something like that go. But I think, like you say, the chips and having soft landing area is real important. There's a cool slide there, and I don't know if that slide's too high these days, but both my grandkids had a great time on it. But I think our dollars would be well spent on upgrading the playground there for sure, for the community. So my vote, yes, on Nick Shannon.
I just had something to say about Ridgegate. Can I talk about that? Oh, good. With all the other parks, by the way, thanks for this. Thanks for this, Nancy. Really good. Learned a lot about the parks over the last few weeks, and we have a quite large array of them. Ridgegate, I think, is the only one that isn't marked out as a park. I believe that from the street side anyway, where it goes into the back of Cracksburger. Am I talking about the right one there?
Mhm.
Okay, so, I mean, we all know that it's, I mean, I know now too, but we all know that it's a park, but it's not even signified as a park or a park project in process, if you want to call it that. So I was wondering if any type of work that was ever done there to show people kind of, maybe not the landscape of, I mean, there's no fence around it or anything, not that I wanted the cyclone fence like stay out or anything, but a sign there where we can say, hey, this is a future project of the, city of Gladstone to do this. And maybe on that sign also have, well, I looked at some of the small print on here with my magnifying glass, have on there something like a QR code that shows the rest of the parks in the system, that people that don't know about them, they could take a picture of it with their phone. It takes them right to, I may be getting a little bit grandiose here, but takes them right to a website or something, or the same map that said, these are where these things are. And I saw that that's been talked about before, and how they were gonna, do all the parks. Because when I went to Robin Hood, there's a big sign right there, took a picture of it, here's what you can do, can't do, and park hours and that type of thing. So I was just thinking maybe there was a way, to put a sign up there so people know this is part of the city of Gladstone, Parks Department, or the city's thing. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
It would help us, I think, really good if we would stop referring to it as Ridgegate, because it is the David M. Scott. And that was how it's deeded to the city.
Okay.
So I think part of that is getting that kind of renamed. And part of it is the parcel that goes from the street into Cracksburger. There's that parcel, but then on the other side of the road, there's another parcel that goes down with a water shed kind of thing down lower. So, but that's not going to be developed. It just isn't feasible to develop. And I'm not sure you need to develop everything, but I think Ridgegate really should be a high priority, to at least get a sign up there. And then maybe a sign, stay tuned for, if we could even, I don't know how hard it is to order those Gladstone Park signs.
It shouldn't take much to do, really.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to get with the people that did the signs for all the other parks and stuff like that. And they
Yeah.
should be able to put one together fairly quick.
Yeah, and then if we could put just a little thing on that said coming soon, or more development coming, or something like that, might help that neighborhood.
Okay.
Or they'll let us know they don't want it, or something will happen there. But yeah, so far I'm just seeing like Nick Shannon and Ridgegate. Come on.
I guess I've got a small idea, a medium-sized idea, and a big idea. My small idea to start out with the low-hanging fruit is I noticed recently that one of the logs that has the Dirk's Memorial Park came down. It looks like it rotted out at the base. I feel like I think that got set back up again, but it feels like those probably need to get renewed at some point if they're starting to decompose. Dirk's Park. Yeah, right the street corner. Yeah. There's three logs. Each one has one part of the name out. It looks like one of them fell over, like it snapped at the base or something. The medium-sized idea I had is a nature play area. I know that nature play is becoming increasingly a valued thing in communities because it's kind of a different philosophy from the sort of traditional prefab, very prescriptive sort of play structure. It's much more unstructured, very creative approach to play. I think that's something that would be a really valuable asset to the community. I don't have a particular location in mind for that, but I've seen that done really well at some other park districts. And so it's something where we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, a nature play area could be anything for just getting some logs or log rounds or things like that. So it's it's kind of a very creative, non-prescriptive, unstructured kind of play environment. Some of them are literally just a patch of woodland that just has signs out saying nature play area, and kids can just go wild and build stick forts and things like that. And then the big idea I had is that there is a pretty historic amount of wildfire preparedness and risk reduction money out there, especially focused on fuels management. And I've noticed that some of the green spaces are pretty overgrown with a lot of kind of ladder fuels, like at Meldrum Bar, there's a lot of holly and things like that. There's a lot of tree ivy. Like at the nature park, there's still a fair amount of blackberry and some smaller snags that aren't providing a lot of wildlife value. Some of the other green spaces are also fairly overgrown in this sense. So if the city wanted to pursue a grant to do some of this fuels reduction money that would both help protect the surrounding neighborhoods from wildfire risk, but it'll also be kind of a side way of getting into doing a lot of ecosystem restoration. I know that at Lake Oswego, the city partnered with the local watershed council and got a big wildfire reduction grant and cleaned a bunch of stuff out of city owned green spaces and homeowners associations and other areas like that. And so it's an opportunity to do some cool things there. And also because some of these grants are pretty big, that might be worth talking to a neighboring park district like NCPRD or Oregon City about going in together on one of these, because there could potentially be a lot of money out there.
I think that's a really good idea, and I think the city of Gladstone has done a pretty good job just in our city newsletter and putting information out there about how to keep your home safe, but we maybe don't talk as much about the public space and our parks and green space, and it's an added bonus that there's less berries and ivy as getting rid of fuel, but also just getting rid of some of that nasty stuff that's in the parks. So I like that idea.
So was down at Cross Park, that was really overgrown a couple of years back, a few summers ago, maybe 3 or 4 even. And that got cleared out. Was that part of that kind of a program? Does anybody know?
Yeah, that was put on my work hat for a moment. That was Clackamas River Basin Council. We got a grant from Tigard Water District for doing some watershed protection work near their drinking water intake. And so they paid us to do the restoration work there. I'm not necessarily volunteering myself or my organization to do the fuels management work because we're pretty full right now, but there is Clackamas Fire District is working on a kind of big regional partnership to do a lot of this work as well. Their main focus is more kind of on the wildland urban interface, but I think there's potentially some nexus there as well.
That's great, Eric.
Just briefly, while I was at Nick Shannon, back to Nick Shannon, there were 3 rain-soaked jackets draped over the sign. And I thought, well, geez, maybe, I don't know if it would help or not, but I'm sure this is a chronic problem throughout the park system. I'm guessing that a lot of people leave their personal items there. Maybe a sign to say, just, please don't leave your stuff here. It's just a thought.
Your mother's watching, take your coat. Yeah, yeah.
Right, just a
Okay.
thought.
Just a thought. Okay, anything else? Anybody else?
I've got
You got something
a couple
else?
things. Well, so Meldrum Dog Park, I know you explained what
I
was
think that should be on the,
kind of going on, but in our site plan there, they had a projection of about $40,000. It's probably about 80,000 now, but 77% of CDC money or SDC money could be used for that. And I look at it and I say, wow, 77%. So I'm kind of wondering, are we going to wait around for another couple of years for a grant to come through? And that's why I just kind of think that might be something that we keep on our priority list for these. I know it's not a small project, but I don't think it's a huge project either, as parks go. And then Max Patterson, I guess maybe I have questions as well as just some ideas about that. I know we have the sheltered areas, and there was some work that was supposed to be done on those to bring them up to, I'll just say code or to repair them. And then they were going to get painted. I don't know if that's happened, but during the summertime, it seems like they get used pretty well, and maybe adding another, at least one, maybe not 2, but at least another one might be a good idea. And then I had a question about the spray park. That was supposed to have been converted to, from a recirculating to a wastewater system. And I won't profess that I'm an expert on that, but it seems to be still an open item. Did that ever get changed?
Yeah, that was changed years ago.
It was.
Yeah, before I got here, that was changed.
Okay.
So, and this is one thing that Nancy and Kate and I talked about. What I want to do is I want to go through the master plan, the original master plan, and go through and basically cross off all the stuff that has been done. And then we can replace that in your binders. Because they asked the same thing too. So there are some things that have been completed. Get those off the list and then get that list back to you. So, that should be fairly easy to do. I can have that by next meeting and then we'll just supplement it in to get rid of the one that has everything on it.
And then what about the shelters though? Did those get repaired? And,
The shelters were painted last summer.
okay.
I think, I'd have to check and see where we're at with the repairs on those.
Okay. And what's the cost of one of those? Do we know? 'Cause it seems like if we could add another one, it might be kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the cost on one of those. But that's something that can also be done with the Metro money as well.
Oh, yeah, the bigger, yeah, right.
Is it my turn? Okay, all right. I also agree with Nick Shannon. And in my, excuse me, and in my need to make things neat and tidy. I was talking with Darren that there's a real, to me, there's a real industrial feel to that with those big, huge water tanks right behind. And I kind of would like to see Nick Shannon be something besides just another plastic play structure. I don't know what that would look like. Using different materials maybe, and that would be a good place to add in maybe some logs over on the side because there is kind of a little wooded area. I don't know. And I do know that Nick Shannon is not that total open space there. It's just from the path to the left, and the other side is part of the water district. Is that correct? Yeah.
Oak Lodge Water District owns basically the driveway and everything to the, we'll call it the west of
Okay,
that.
that has nothing on it.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so our area that we're dealing with. So I don't know, I would just like people to kind of really look at that park and think, what else could we do besides a plastic play structure? That would still be a really fun and engaging place for kids to come. So anyway, down the road. So Nick Shannon, definitely. The other thing that I noticed, and I really would like input from the staff on this one, is at Derek's. There must have been a time period when you put in really small play structures, but they didn't include swings. Was there a time period in thought that happened because of like Robin Hood and?
I don't know how that play structure got there or
Or
what
how
happened with it, but my guess is there's not a lot of room there. And putting in a play structure there, or putting in a swing set there, without doing measurements and stuff like that, it takes a big clearance area to be able to do that.
Well, and I'm sure not being a baseball player, that probably is used for warming up pictures and stuff like that. I don't know. It just seemed like that was a sad little play structure. And I know there's a lot of kids between the apartment complexes on Risley, and then across the street, there's some other really big apartment complexes. So I didn't know if we could just add in like one piece of play equipment that might be kind of fun, that had some swinging capacity that didn't need the huge radius. And that may not be the place to do it.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have any idea how that
Yeah.
play structure came to fruition.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't look to add to it. if
Just
that's-
maybe add something that might be a little more fun or updated. I don't know. Anyway, I also agree with kind of where Eric was going on repairs in the parks. And I had this conversation with Darren because I was curious about how things were repaired in the park. How does that system work? Because there's fences that are kind of down, and what's the priority. And so I don't know, Darren, if you want to speak to how that's handled.
Yeah, so obviously anything that's gonna be a safety hazard would be prioritized as being top priority. And then after that, it's more of when we have time to get them done. I do know that there are several areas in parks that need to have some work done. Um, but really, safety first, and then after that, when we get time, that's when we'll fix the others. Um, our problem is we have 2 staff people. So, but obviously, safety is the number one priority.
And I get that. I think safety is a really good first step. Yeah, I just, when I see things that go on for a year or so, then I kind of start to wonder, you know, is it just now we're so used to it being broken that we don't see it anymore? Or, you know, what can we do as a community to kind of help with that? I don't know, because I know you only have 2 people, so. The other thing, and Eric, I was kind of hoping you might go there, is with some of that West money doing some bank stabilization or watershed rebuilding or something, because I know there's a lot of West money that has to be used. And Meldrum is within that West district. So I don't know if some of that money could be used to like plant trees up where the dog park's gonna go to get more shade up there or something, if some of that money could be marshaled into that.
I think there are a lot of possibilities there. One thing I was thinking about that is that there's the Rainierson Creek restoration is a really amazing project, but also feels like it's been very abandoned in the years since then. There's some very serious noxious weeds moving in, like county level priority stuff. And so we could use some of the West money to work with the Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation District Weed Wise program to go after some of those that they've been eyeing for a while too.
I know I've seen them down there, like treating that. And I'm not sure how long the agreement with Rainierson went that they would take care of it with the original.
They
watershed.
still maintain it.
Yeah, they still maintain it. So I don't think that's something that Gladstone, so maybe just information to them that, but I know last summer I saw a company down there treating things. So I know
Mhm.
that's still going on.
I know there's also stuff that's even kind of outside the restoration area, like even the big gravel pad, there's a lot of oblong spurge and Japanese knotweed and stuff creeping into that. And that's stuff that's potentially moving from there all over the place. So I think there's some ways that we could do some more noxious weed management.
Okay, so we've got this great list in front of us and are there, I'm gonna guess just because everybody brought up Nick Shannon that would be number 1 on our list. That would be our high priority. Looking, and Ridgegate, I think at least getting a sign up would be really awesome. So that people know it's coming and then kind of get those benches up there when we can. So anybody else have a thought on what should come next?
Well, I'll always vote for the dog park. That's
Okay.
my bias.
All right. No, I agree. I think Gladstone needs a dog park, so let's get that up there on number 3.
This is my wife's encouragement. Is there any more plans for any more pickleball courts?
I'm gonna say probably, oh, well, there should be, but I don't know where they would go in Gladstone. If there isn't even,
Is there not room somewhere at Meldrum? I don't know.
Meldrum is, it's not on the site plan. I don't know. I don't know where it would go because of the ball fields and
Yeah,
other
it's
things.
not currently in the site plan at Meldrum,
Yeah.
no.
I'll tell my wife, thanks.
she's gonna have to travel. That's all there is to it. Okay, so let's see if we can get like a 4 and a 5 here. When we're looking at Derrick Parks, and the repairing of the sign is a repair. It's not a project, so that's gonna get shoveled over to the repair thing. So we have a nature play area and fuel management and perhaps another picnic structure. at Patterson.
Well, Jude, I like since I brought up the place, or I mean, the picnic structure, I kind of want to go with that, but I really liked Eric's idea of the nature play area, and it kind of dovetails in with Nick Shannon.
I don't know.
If we're doing some upgrading up there, that might be a good spot for it.
I think that's a good I think it's a really good idea. I'd like to really spend some time thinking about Nick Shannon and how that can be developed so it's something different.
Mhm.
So,
Just for clarification, is Nick Shannon Park is this side of the fence that the other side has all the water tanks and such. Is that a fair statement?
So it's from the road to the fence is Nick Shannon Park.
Got it.
From the roadway that goes into the reservoirs to your left is Nick Shannon Park. Anything
Right.
on the right side of that roadway is not Nick Shannon Park.
Right.
and Gladstone doesn't even own it.
Correct.
So,
Right. Okay. Thanks.
okay, so, let's go with nature play areas number 4, trying to incorporate one somewhere. And then Patterson, perhaps a picnic shelter, and that may be a Metro money leftover kind of a
Oh,
thought.
yeah,
I
good
don't
one.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 5 there. Okay. All right. Oh, fuel reduction. Gad. That, to me, that is a concern. Every summer, I'm assuming the nature park's gonna burn down and take, either an apartment complex or something with it. So I don't know. Darren, what are your thoughts on fuel reduction management in the city of Gladstone in our parks?
Well, I think it needs to be done. I think it's a, viable option. You've already got a pretty large list there. And I don't know what you're thinking as far as time frame is concerned. Nick Shannon is in the strategic plan. Ridgegate is in the strategic plan. And well, to be honest with you, none of the other ones are. So, which I know that's your next topic, but I think, I think what you have as far as 1 and 2 are right on, but to be honest, to get anything more than that within the time frame, it's going to be a really hard push. Well, the dog park will probably happen too, which is number 3, but anything beyond that's going to be a pretty hard push to get completed in a timely manner.
Or even to start looking into it? Or,
Well, I mean, you can look into it obviously, but I mean, it's to get that up and running is going to take time to get something like that up and running.
so would we be interested in moving the fuel reduction management like to the 4th position? So it's right after the other 3 things that are already in process, and that way it might be a real high priority for us.
Yeah,
Thought?
good.
Okay, so Christy, if you could swap those around, that would be great. Thank you. And then just move everybody else down. Like the play structure might be 5.
I thought we were going 4.
Okay, great.
Oh.
Yep, they're all there.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Christy, thank you for your help on that. All right. I hope that kind of helps get us focused on some new ways to go. Any other questions or concerns on this?
I will say too, with the fuels reduction, if you can find a partner organization like in the Lake Oswego model where the city was kind of coordinating the project with in this case, the watershed council is actually managing the project and doing the contracting. That's a pretty nimble arrangement. That's a relatively low burden on both partners. So if there's someone, again, I can't make any promise for my own employer at this point, but if there's someone who's willing to take on the project management side of things, that could work pretty well. And again, there's a lot of money out there right now, so it feels like a bit of a strike while the iron's hot kind of thing.
So if my memory of the watersheds, Gladstone has 2 of them, 2 watershed councils within the Gladstone.
That's correct. Clackamas River is, and basically there's sort of a line running about southwest and northeast is between us and North Clackamas watersheds.
And so like the nature park and Meldrum would be,
Yeah, the nature park, I believe, is in Clackamas and Meldrum is in North Clackamas. Although Doll Beach is in Clackamas, so it's a little odd.
so, okay, so there's some confusion. Okay, so we'd have to do some research and looking at the watersheds on that one. Okay, great. Places to go. Thank you. Back to the agenda. Discussion on goals. The other one was we still had these like 3 goals down at the bottom of our strategic plan. One of them, and I'm pretty sure that they have just been carried over from plan to plan. Nobody really understands them. I think nobody wanted to deal with them, so they just got carried over. So at the very least, I would like to clear them off or deal with something with them. So the first one, probably the easiest one, is the implementation of park user fees specific to rental of covered park structures, rental Gladstone City Parks. So I brought this up with Darren because somewhere in my minutes from some other user meeting, I had a sheet of paper that indicated those shelters were worth $45 for 2 hours on the weekends. And I was like, are we doing? And the signs on the shelters say first come, first serve. So I asked Darren if he had some information, and he said, I don't think that's happening, Nancy. So, and then he also brought up that with those 2 shelters, you're not going to make enough money to cover what the city would have to do to manage it. And also there's not a staff on over the weekend, so the garbage would just pile up as disposed. And if you're going to pay $45, you should at least have the garbage. So at this point, that's not happening. So for me, this goal can just quietly kind of say, until something happens within the city parks that we can actually manage and do that, then we can come back and look at that. But I think this is a moot point. Anyone want to object with me? No? Okay. So I think that one we can say not, well, it's not completed. It's not viable. Okay, so we have 2 other goals. One of them is community partner on events that maintain citizen involvement and looking at how the process is working and if that can be handled more smoothly. The other one is to research recreational programming that could be linked to the transient lodge tax. I know only that I pay a transient lodge tax when I go somewhere. I don't know how that's used. So do we as a group want to deal with one of those next meeting more so than the other, or? We would have to have some research on either one
Yeah.
of them. I think that's important.
It would probably help if we understand how the transient lodging tax is used.
Okay,
And what part of that the parks,
could
Get-
access. Okay,
to accent,
okay.
to access. And then I think the use probably, and this is where it helps to be explained to us, is that portion that Parks and Rec would get to use should be used for something that attracts for tourism,
Right.
my understanding. And we've had some ideas about this in the past, but I think if this group understands best how that money would come to us, how we could use it, what type of projects, then we could probably
Go for that.
research it a
All
little
right.
better. So yeah.
Okay,
let's-
so we'll do that one for next time. And somehow we'll find somebody who knows what a transient lodging tax is and what comes into Gladstone and what can be done. So somehow we'll figure that out. So is there anything else from the board? Okay, is there business from the audience?
There's nothing.
Okay, great. So our next meeting is April 8th. And unless anyone I would just like to really thank Public Works and the parks people, how well they work, and the parks are looking good. There's always room for more, and I know you guys are strapped, but I just really appreciate the time and energy that people are putting into it and the little cheery waves I get when I walk now. So That's always nice to see. If anyone else has something that they've observed in the parks or want to kudos to anybody? No? Okay, so unless, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion to adjourn.
Kristen?
Kate Cornelius,
Yes.
Bruce Hildreth,
Yes.
Eric Butler,
Yes.
Kim Egrimson,
Yes.
Justice Mills,
Yes.
and Chair Nancy Turner.
Yes. So we are adjourned.